system are treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is explored. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? Talking about 0 point, the points lost on them. Counter structures crumbling from the same old stem. They laugh like I'm crazy, but I see it all so clear. Exploited labor, unheard, injustice burning ears. Fighting for a change in this wasteland of noise. But they call me foolish, whining shed boys. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world begin to boy. Changing the system, we're treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is explored. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? Chasing revolutions in the darkest nights. A dreamer with vision beneath the laughter and noise. A future so bright waiting for the right choice.
Testing 1 2, testing 2 3. Just testing the mic out real quick. All right, welcome back to the Benefactor's Guide to Free Energy Devices. I'm your host, the Benefactor, and I apologize for the inconvenience earlier. I've been trying to get live since 5 o'clock, but I've been having some problems with Streamlabs. Now, either somebody doesn't want me to go live with this experiment, or it's just an unfortunate glitch. Either way, it's an unfortunate setback that I had to switch to Streamlabs real quick. And we're kind of limited on this platform, but I should still be able to give my presentation and go live on the lab cam for our experiment at the end of the lecture here. So welcome, fellow researchers, enthusiasts, and just plain curious people. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're going to be doing something that I've been wanting to do for a while, but haven't been able to until now. We're going to be combining two ideas tonight that should, hopefully, for the first time, provide further evidence of the potential of a self-sustaining system, meaning a system that can power itself indefinitely using its output. A system that can run on its own output and nothing more, basically. No additional input power required for a system like this beyond starting the process. Now, the two ideas that we're going to combine tonight are John Bedini's battery conditioning methods and my own synthetic AC model, which aims to predict some of these nonlinear phenomenon in these pulsed systems. Now, today, we're running this new experiment because it's specifically something that, in my opinion, is going to give us more evidence of this self-sustaining potential using something called a buck booster or a buck boost converter. So it finally arrived. I've been waiting for this thing for a while, and I've been wanting to order it for even longer, which means we can finally do something that I've been wanting to do for months. So, as you know, if you follow my research, we've ran the Wattman test, which means we took the coil, hooked it up to a stereo amp board, and then a power supply. And then we hooked it up to the wall using a Wattman meter to monitor the input requirement for the entire system. And what we experienced was an entire reduction of 33 watts, which is significant because the system only utilizes about 45 to 50 watts total. So we've experienced this going down to like 14 watts, right? When it should be consuming at least 40 to 45 watts, which is extraordinary. The problem is, and the problem thus far has been when moving this system, this test, onto a battery, which we confirmed a 33 watt reduction was real and not just some glitch or miscalculation or something. Anyways, we moved it to a 12-volt battery. But again, we're on an 18-volt stereo amp board. So we're already limited by a little bit of the amperage that we can get, the potential coming out of the stereo amp. So when we spin a neodymium sphere in the center using a tuning method that I've introduced to you all in previous live streams, spin this neodymium sphere up to about anywhere from 70 to 120 hertz. You kind of lock into this, I don't know, it's almost like not a resonant frequency, because the system is like probably oscillating a lot higher, but it's probably spinning at a subharmonic of that resonant frequency. And we've noticed that when it does this, on the wall, we witness a 33 watt reduction. So in theory, it should, reduce the battery drain as well, which it did. It didn't just reduce it though. While it was synchronized, it actually increased the voltage potential on the battery. Now, it wasn't perpetual, it wasn't indefinite. And this is because, in my theory, in my opinion, since you can audibly hear the neodymium sphere desynchronize, and then notice once it's desynchronized, it's still spinning fast, but it's desynchronized. It's like not in sync with the on and off switching of the coil. So the two fields, actually, the field of the neodymium sphere and the field of the coil, have to be in sync. And when they are not in sync, the coil, the sphere is still spinning, but you can hear it desynchronize. And when it happens, it doesn't climb in voltage, it starts decreasing, albeit slowly, very slowly. So we're going to take this partially conditioned Bedini battery that I've been, working with for quite some time now. It's not fully conditioned, but it's pretty good. It's pretty partially, I'd say maybe 30 to 40% conditioned. We're going to take that negatively conditioned battery, and we're going to boost it to 18 volts using this buck booster. And we're going to run our neodymium sphere, our magnet, with the synchronization experiment. Now, like in previous experiments, not having this booster, we notice that it falls out of sync. But I'm hoping that boosting the battery to 18 volts using the full potential of the stereo amp we can lock in either a lot longer or maybe even indefinitely. I doubt it's the latter. I'm just hoping for a little bit longer sustaining that upward climb in voltage, because that is the evidence we want to see. Because if you have a system that runs itself on its own output power and it's self-sustaining, theoretically, that's the first thing you want to look for, is your source battery is going to be climbing in voltage, or it's going to be steady. It's not going to be decreasing in potential. So think of it like a bucket full of water. It's just going to be full of water. It's not going to be dumping anything out. So it's just my working theory that since you can audibly hear the neodymium sphere desynchronize or skip, once that happens, it's my theory that it happens because we're not having enough power to the system to keep that sphere spinning at that RPM that it needs to be spinning. Because once that happens, the voltage on our source battery no longer climbs, but it starts to fall. And it falls really slowly compared to not having the sphere in there, right? So you take the sphere out and immediately it jumps down to a lower shelf, then starts to decrease. So that's the most interesting thing, and that's the most interesting evidence here, is when the sphere starts to spin, not when it's synchronized, just starts to spin, the voltage, the shelf at which because when you hook up a load, say you hook up a light to your battery and you monitor it with a multimeter, okay, it's at 12.6 volts, you hook up the light, it's going to sag a little bit before it starts to steadily decrease, right? It's going to sag maybe 12.5 volts from 12.6 volts and then go down from there. Now this is telling, because what it does when the magnet starts spinning in the coil, the system raises to a higher shelf, meaning there is more pressure, more potential in that system than without the sphere spinning. So this is very telling because even when it's not desynchronized, it'll jump to a higher voltage potential shelf than without the sphere, and then start to steadily decrease until it's synchronized, and then it'll start to increase in voltage potential. So that's a couple of interesting things we need to pay attention to going forward with our experiments, because we want that voltage to climb as long as possible. Once it reaches a critical threshold, it should be able to sustain the effect, not indefinitely, but at least until something breaks in the system. And that's what we call a self-sustaining system. And this is evidence that it's possible, right? That voltage under no circumstance should be climbing up while it's actually performing work and powering a load, specifically powering the stereo amp and outputting all that frequency. So tonight we're going to be running the test on a 12-volt battery with this buck boost converter, boosting it to 18 volts, its full potential of the stereo amp, which is really exciting. I believe it's an AB class stereo amp mini board. So it's a Drox mini board. It's really, it's the best one I've used so far outside of those old stereo amp receivers, the big ones. I've had a couple of them that I've gotten that are really powerful. I'd like to get one again, actually, if I can find one on the market. What's going on, Mike? How you doing? Again, I apologize about the rocky start. Having some glitches earlier with Streamlabs, so I had to switch to StreamYard. So our intermission is going to be a little bit different because we are limited in what I can do production-wise. But let's move on. So as I was saying, our voltage climbing while the battery is performing work just shouldn't happen under any conventional circumstance, although and under the synthetic AC theory, it is possible. But before we run that test tonight, we need to rewind a little bit and explain a few important things to provide some context, especially for those who are just joining us. Because the battery we're using is not a normal battery. And I've mentioned this in our introduction. At least not anymore it's normal. It's conditioned with negative electricity. And we're going to go into this in a minute. But for now, let's play the intro video, if I can find it.
Throughout modern history, there have been visionaries who dared to dream beyond the boundaries of conventional science. Inventors who sought to unlock the mysteries of alternative propulsion, anti-gravitics, and the enigma of over-unity energy. Yet, their stories remain shrouded in shadow. Many of these pioneers, their voices silenced, their visions extinguished. Some vanished into obscurity, while others paid the ultimate price. Suppression, it seems, has been a constant companion to innovation. But recently, there's been a glimmer of hope. A new generation of self-taught, open-minded, and independent scientists has emerged. A collective effort to combat the forces that seek to keep humanity in the dark. People like Marco Rodin, whose rediscovery of vortex-based mathematics is nothing short of mind-bending. They pushed the boundaries of mathematical understanding, opening doors to a new realm of possibilities by describing numbers as physical stationary interstitiary vectors in space-time whose values don't change. Unlike traditional mathematics, where numbers change while functions remain constant, this paradigm shift recognizes that in reality, functions themselves can represent the changing variables, opening doors to a new understanding of mathematical relationships. And then there's Malcolm Bendall, a man with a vision that defies convention. He introduced the plasmoid unified model, a concept that calculates the resonant frequencies of everything from the elements to colors, shapes, and even polarized cardinal directions. But Bendall didn't stop at theory. He applied his unified field theory to a revolutionary concept, converting mass into clean energy. His ingenious design mimics nature's use of plasma, producing colossal amounts of pristine energy. Bendall's vision goes beyond energy. It's about reshaping our understanding of the world and harnessing the very forces of nature to propel us into a new era. As Tesla was once accredited as saying, "Throughout space there is energy. Is this energy static or kinetic? If static, our hopes are in vain. If kinetic, and this we know it is for certain, then it's a mere question of time when men will succeed in attaching their machinery to the very wheelwork of nature." In the shadows of suppressed technology, these visionaries are opening doors to a brighter, more sustainable future. The plasmoid engine, a symbol of hope, innovation, and the relentless pursuit of the unknown. Join us as we delve deeper into the mysteries of plasmoids and the brave souls who dare to challenge.
All right. So, before our experiment, before we dive into our experiment tonight, we're going to be reviewing the world of John Bedini's negatively conditioned batteries for a little bit of context. I'm not going to go into too much detail because we've done extensive podcasts on the conditioning process. So if you want to see those are available or should be available on my channel. So standard electrical engineering is built on the second law of thermodynamics, right? You can't get more energy out of a system than you put into it. Energy moves toward entropy. Systems lose energy as heat. In that world, a battery is just a chemical bucket. You pour electrons in, you pull electrons out, and then you shake it all about. So in that sense, heat is friction. Friction damages the battery, and it's considered loss to the system when you calculate the efficiency. Commercial chargers follow this model perfectly. They are linear by nature and kind of counterproductive because repair modes, pulse chargers, and high-frequency AC desulfation devices, they all use amperage and brute force. And what happens when you use amperage and brute force? Well, the battery gets hot. And that heat can lead your plates to expanding and warping, damaging the battery. It's like cleaning a delicate window with a pressure washer in that sense. It's counterproductive. It can be dangerous to your battery. I mean, yes, you might break loose some dirt, but you could also break the glass. John Bedini's approach to this problem was quite different. He didn't try to push energy harder. He didn't focus on current. He used potential instead of current. So by potential, we mean voltage. When the transistor in a Bedini schoolgirl circuit shuts off, the magnetic field in the coil doesn't simply vanish. It implodes, it collapses violently, and that collapse produces a high voltage spike called a kickback. This spike behaves differently from ordinary current. Standard electricity is transverse in nature. It wiggles like a snake, through the wire and collides with everything in its path, producing heat as it does so. Remember, heat is lost in the system. Bedini's spike behaves more like a longitudinal pressure wave. It travels around the wire, bypassing the friction caused by the conductor. Almost no friction, almost no heat. And this is why our battery stays cool at around 68 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit during the conditioning process, even when it's desulfating. Remember, I've monitored this battery, the temperature for the entire conditioning process, along with my traditional charger, which has a pulse mode. And the pulse mode and the regular charging mode heats up this battery quite a bit. But the Bedini SSG basically stays almost slightly above ambient temperature. It's really incredible. And it only really gets hot when you see the system struggling to increase the voltage on the charge battery, which means it's really fighting some sulfation, and then it breaks the layer, and then it just jumps up. And then the heat goes down immediately. So this is very interesting, but it's all telling effects of conditioning the battery with negative electricity. Remember, we're not cooking the battery with heat. We're kind of cold forging it, I guess is the best description. Instead of dissolving sulfate crystals through heat, we're striking them with a voltage hammer. And over many cycles, those crystals break apart and return to the electrolyte acid. Now, here's the part that's still a working hypothesis. Plasmoids, right? We love to talk about them on this channel. But it is my opinion that the Bedini spike may be creating high-density charged clusters, tiny stable packets of organized plasma we call plasmoids. Now, plasmoids are kind of like nature's atomic battery. They can draw in protium from the surrounding environment and release enormous amounts of energy in the form of heat, sound, radiation, and electromagnetism. They're basically where thunderstorms get their enormous power. Remember, the thunderclap from a lightning strike is an enormous amount of, represents an enormous amount of power. Where does that power come from? Well, it's the same power that powers an atom, 0-point energy. And the gateway to this 0-point energy is microscopic ball lightning we call structured plasma or plasmoids. And when these plasmoids group together in clusters, or what we call charged clusters, they kind of act as nature's atomic batteries, providing enormous amounts of power for very little cost. Now, it is my opinion that we may be creating these plasmoids with the Bedini SSG. This is the Bedini SSG right here. So think of it, when we run the Bedini SSG at around 60 milliamp input to our charge battery, remember we want to keep it below 100 milliamps as Bedini suggests, we're effectively seeding the battery plates with these charged clusters in this theory. So we can think of it less like filling a bucket and more like planting seeds inside the lead plates. So if this is correct, it explains several strange behaviors observed in negatively conditioned batteries. For example, when you disconnect the charger from the battery, normally the battery voltage would just slowly start to decrease, right? Or it will have a sag and then slowly start to decrease. However, a properly negatively conditioned battery, when you disconnect it from the charger, sometimes will rise slightly in voltage before it starts to stabilize. This shouldn't be possible, right? Why is this happening? Well, plasmoids embedded into lead plates explain this. If those charged clusters remain embedded in the plates, they can slowly release stored potential back into the chemistry as needed, and as proven by other devices such as the thunderstorm generator, where we have proven that plasmoids are embedded in the structure of the metal and can be reactivated after some time. Specifically, the plasmoid generator was sabotaged at a presentation, meaning it couldn't create the plasmoids in the demo. But the plasmoids from previous experiments and previous runs were still embedded in the system, where they could demonstrate the effectiveness of the system essentially without running that for about 20 to 30 minutes or so, I believe. So we could see these same effects play out in a negatively conditioned battery, or so I think. And once we fully condition a battery with negative electricity, I really want to send one for testing. Maybe we can send one to Bob Grenier. He knows how to look for those microscopic signatures. The crenulated iron microspheres are the marker for this kind of plasmoid technology. But they really can explain some of the unique effects that we'll see in the battery. And I have been seeing in these just partially conditioned negative electricity, or this partially conditioned negative battery has been displaying some of the unique effects. Specifically, it sagged down to a specific shelf when I discharged it, and it just wouldn't go past that voltage potential. Like, it wouldn't go down. I had to load it up quite a bit. So it proved a quite an anti-linear decline and quite a resilience to any kind of change in that shelf, which is what we want to see in a properly conditioned battery. And I think we're only on cycle 3, but again, I've kind of run the Bedini SSG for months on these batteries, but I've switched between hot and cold charging, which I've learned you can't really do. It messes with the conditioning process. You can't really mix them. Now, what you can do is get 3 batteries, and we'll talk about this later, and swap them that way. But until you have 3 fully conditioned batteries, it isn't recommended that you charge one battery in one cycle and then, oh, it's not fully charged or it's going down, so you're going to hot charge it. No, that was my mistake. You don't want to confuse the battery, because it's literally changing its chemistry. I guess according to John Bedini and his research with this stuff, because he is the OG here. Everything we're doing with these batteries is based on his work. So once these batteries become fully conditioned with the negative energy, the batteries become an active dipole transducer, basically converting radiant energy into usable power instead of being simple passive storage devices. And the conditioning process will take us some time, around 10 to 20 cycles, generally speaking. The battery develops new personality after that, though. It becomes stiff, as we've said before. A normal battery behaves like a bucket, right? You apply a load and the voltage begins to slide down immediately. A properly negatively conditioned battery behaves differently. You apply a load and the voltage drops to a plateau, and then it just refuses to move. And we've experienced this. And it was frustrating because I had to attach all these different things to it, because I needed to drain. As part of the process of cycling it, you have to charge it and then drain it fully. And I couldn't get it to drain until I hooked up all these different things. So it holds at that level for most of the discharge, and then it suddenly falls off a cliff. This plateau behavior is one of the classic indicators of a properly conditioned negative battery. And we can imagine maybe the plasmoids are substituting some of that potential loss, right? They're in there and they're charged up and they're using some of the charge as needed, supplementing. So once you have 3 fully conditioned batteries, Bedini suggested that you can have a 3 battery rotation system, basically hot swapping them. And I guess the reason why you don't want 2 is because you have to give the freshly charged battery at least a little time to sit there and let the chemistry stabilize. So even fully conditioned batteries, when you discharge them and charge them up with the Bedini SSG, you still have to, give that charged battery at least, I would say at least 2 to 4 hours before you start the next charge cycle. But that's only if it's very, very near fully conditioned or fully conditioned. I wouldn't recommend like just swapping them instantly unless maybe they're fully conditioned. That's something we can experiment with, because again, we haven't really fully conditioned the batteries. But once we have 2 fully conditioned batteries, we can try that, hot swapping them instantly. I know Mike has a circuit for that specifically. So if he says it'll work, it should work, as long as, you know, I'm assuming as long as we have them fully conditioned with the negative electricity, they should take very, very fast and efficient. Because as you see, when you condition these batteries with negative electricity, they will start to absorb the charge a lot faster. They'll start to charge up a lot faster. They'll take the negative spike a lot better. But when you first start it, it's going to be frustrating because you're going to have to use the trigger battery multiple times and, you know, stop it and put it back on the hot charger and charge it up. It's not going to be very efficient. But once you start to go through a few cycles properly and go through our cycling process that I've gone through in previous live streams, you'll notice that the battery takes to the negative electricity a lot better. You're only putting in 60 to 70 milliamps to that battery, and it's going up pretty steadily and fast. Whereas before, it was kind of fighting it. You would notice like the third digit, the 1000th digit kind of oscillating back and forth, kind of fighting it on the multimeter. So you'll notice these little subtleties, but they're indicators. And at first, I thought some of these indicators were indications of the battery not taking and the system not really working, because I didn't see it really working efficiently. And that's because I wasn't conditioning the battery properly. I kept on confusing it with the hot energy, first of all. And second of all, we weren't discharging it and charging it right. We have to discharge it to at least 11 to 10.5 volts. And then we want to charge it up to at least 14 to 15 volts. I wasn't charging it up to 14 to 15 volts. Now, we want to discharge it to get those lower levels of sulfate built up on the plates, desulfated. And then we want to charge it up to 14 or 15 volts because we want to, again, get to those deeper layers of sulfation. So this all helps condition the battery when you do this multiple times, and you'll notice the battery starts behaving differently. And we've actually noticed this. You know, we've done the live stream experiment where we had to discharge the battery, and it just stayed at that. I forget what it was, but it stayed at it was a lower voltage potential. It jumped from like, it sagged from like 12.6 to 12.25 or something like that, but it just stayed. And no matter what I hooked up all this crap, guys, to it, and it just stayed until I finally hooked up one last thing. And I don't know if it was like a time factor or what, but we finally got it to start to go down. And you notice once it started to go down, it went down pretty fast. So this is really, really good news because we got a battery ready to run for this experiment. So that means it should hold a lot steadier. It should shelf a lot higher and keep that voltage potential a lot more. So meaning not only with the buck booster, we should be able to get that neodymium sphere, that magnet, to synchronize for a lot longer, theoretically. So that's going to be really exciting. I'm really excited to do that experiment. I've already tested out the buck booster just to make sure it worked on the multimeter, and it works. So going back to what Bedini said, he recommended having 3 batteries so you can rotate them and rest the freshly charged battery for at least a couple hours before you hot swap them. And you can have two batteries power the motor. And Bedini did say that you can have as many batteries stacked on top of each other as the trigger, as many of them as you want. So you can have 2 batteries power the motor, and then those spike charge the third battery. And the third battery reaches 15, maybe 15.5 volts before the first 2 are depleted. Then you swap them over. In theory, once the system is tuned properly and the batteries are fully conditioned, the rotation can continue indefinitely. And this is very useful for off-the-grid purposes. And it's not because energy is created here. It's because the system is interacting with ambient energy that flows all around us. And that energy is what conventional circuits just simply ignore. We have to remember Lieutenant Colonel Tom Bearden. He would emphasize any circuit can extract energy from the vacuum with a properly placed high-speed rectifier. A resonance relay acts as a single diode high-speed rectifier for the lightning thief device you see behind me over here on this side. So going back to synthetic AC and where this fits in, and this is where my own work enters the picture, my own contributions. Because while studying pulse circuits like the Joule Thief, I've noticed something interesting. And that's mainly the classification error that is simply lumping all categories of alternating current into the same, category. We don't differentiate between different categories of alternating current. If alternating current is created one way or another, we still call it AC. And that is a mistake, because how a wave is created determines how its function is useful. So in that sense, we had to come up with a new taxonomy. And maybe I can bring that up here for you guys. This new taxonomy for different types of alternating current behavior in a system. So synthetic AC can be categorized by the method used to generate alternating behavior in a circuit. And these fall into two main categories or subcategories. Remember, synthetic AC is the broad general category, the umbrella term. And what we've been able to determine so far are two main types of subcategories for synthetic alternating current. Now, in blue, we have the reactive-driven synthesized alternating current, and in red, we have the forward-driven synthesized alternating current. We're primarily focused with the blue category with my research. Now, that doesn't mean the red category is not important. We're going to get into that probably in later experiments. I know there's a few people, Gerald or Warren, a few different people are doing experiments with the rodent coil and pulse width modulation. So that would be in the forward-driven synthesized alternating current category, which I just don't have experience with because we've been focusing on the blue categories. So if you look at the blue categories, we've broken them down into three main waveforms that we've differentiated. We have the resonant pulsed waveform found in the Joule Thief and ABHA coil combination. That's our lightning thief system that produces this light right here. We have the rotary pulsed waveform, which is what the Bedini SSG would be producing. And then we have the superimposed synthetic AC waveform, which is a true AC signal with a field collapse event happening on top of it. So this would be the stereo amp board method and the neodymium sphere spinning inside the coil, which is what we're going to be doing tonight. That's the method we're going to be using tonight, superimposed synthetic AC, which I kind of dumped in the garbage bin category for a while, considering, or not really garbage bin, but on the back burner, because I didn't think it showed very much promise regarding open systems, regarding self-sustaining systems, right? We wanted to find proof of a system that could sustain itself indefinitely or until the parts wear out. So I originally thought that the stereo amp method was not the way to do that. Initially, at least the simple way. And I was wrong. This is the way to prove that self-sustaining systems are possible. We've already proven on multiple occasions that we can increase the voltage while the system is under load, which shouldn't happen. Now, if we do that past a certain threshold, it charges the battery essentially to the point where it's going to sustain itself. It's going to supplement that input requirement with the output, and the sphere spinning, injecting basically additional energy into the system. And the glass container, the shot glass that we have, basically acts as a resonant chamber containing all that energy and amplifying it in the center. So I think I want to just put up one more. Okay, so field cavitation is the theory where if you have two counter-rotating electromagnetic fields that are placed on top of each other in such a way, they create a 0 point or cavitation zone or null area on the equatorial plane between the two, which is basically just the center line there. Theoretically, this could be the event that creates these structured plasma events, as analogous to bubble cavitation in fluid. You'll see here in this, I think I have the photo available on hand. Yes. So as you'll see here, this is a collapsing cavitation bubble, and you notice the geometry is strikingly similar to the geometry that we have in the field cavitation theory here. Remember, this is not the correct placement of the fields. This is just to show you the difference and show you that there are two different fields. They're actually occupying the same space. We had to separate them in the diagram here just for facilitating the visual concept here. So you understand that there's two different fields going on. There's a clockwise rotation and a counterclockwise rotation. We would call that torsion physics. And again, going back to Dr. Greer's documentary, The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It, there was an engineer or a physicist, I believe, in there who said that the three promising areas for, zero point energy technology are plasma physics, ball lightning, and torsion physics. And guess what? Plasma and ball lightning are the same thing. So, and torsion physics creates plasma. So it's all the same thing. It's all the same process. Just we're looking at different aspects of it. Now, in simple terms, AC doesn't have to come from spinning generators, right? The synthetic AC hypothesis postulates that it can be constructed from pulses. And we've seen this, traditional electrodynamics, just, engineers just lump this as noise or AC ripples that are unwanted or whatever. But in our Joule Thief, the AC is the main component. This is an AC panel here. It's not powered by DC, it's powered by AC. So the AC is the main component in this, and we're using pulsed events, properly timed pulse events, to achieve this effect. So it's not traditional AC. So AC can be constructed from two or more different pulses. If you strike a system with impulses at the right time, the system itself produces AC-like behavior. This is the heart of synthetic AC. It's not fake AC. It's constructed AC from two separately and correctly timed pulsed events. And when certain coil geometries are used, especially Rodin coil type geometries, something even stranger happens. Counter-rotating electromagnetic fields can occupy the same spatial volume, and we've seen this happen. And when that happens, they create a quiet zone between them, or a null zone, on their equatorial plane, what I like to call field cavitation. Now, inside that cavity, energy compresses and reorganizes instead of dissipating. And this could explain some phenomenon that up until now are unexplainable with the Rodin coil, specifically the coil's ability to produce low voltage ionization, unusual efficiencies, and collapse-driven energy recovery events that are easy to collect. Also, ozone being produced at extremely low voltages. These are all effects that shouldn't happen. And like low voltage ionization, ionization shouldn't happen until you reach like the kilovolt range. So we're seeing like 70 volts, the system will start to produce ozone. Very interesting. Very interesting. So for a long time, my experiments were entirely pulse driven. Joule thief is what I've primarily been working with lately, using collapsed spikes, impulse excitation. And then we connected the system to the stereo amplifier. And we started noticing something that I like to call the Wattman reduction effect. So when we placed a magnetic neodymium sphere inside the field, the coil, with a glass container, a shot glass, the power input requirement dropped 33 fucking watts on the Wattman meter. So we increased the load and the wattage requirement dropped. It doesn't make any sense. That's like you dumping water out of the bucket and it's increasing the volume of water in the bucket instead of decreasing the volume. It shouldn't happen, but it did, and it does happen. And the synthetic AC model explains why it happens. The magnetic activity increased within the field. So that brings us today to our experiment. We want to try to get this 12-volt battery up to 18 volts with the buck boost converter, and specifically use the partially conditioned battery, the negatively conditioned battery, to try to maintain that voltage and that RPM and synchronization for longer, maybe indefinitely, maybe just longer. Who knows? And this is because the mismatch in voltage eventually leads the neodymium sphere to fall out of synchronization with the collapse event of the field of the coil. And that synchronization is what adds the additional energy back into the battery. And we've actually observed this with empirical evidence. If it falls out of sync, and you can hear it audibly fall out of sync, it still has amazing efficiency, but the voltage no longer climbs and starts to slowly decrease. Once the sphere is synchronized, you'll notice the voltage increase. And this is remarkable. It's like dropping a ball and watching the ball float up to the ceiling. It shouldn't happen, but it does. And it's really exciting because this means that we're on the right track. So the buck booster finally arrived. We're going to try this test soon. We're going to take a short break first, but if the conditioned battery truly has lower internal resistance and a stronger, ability to hold that voltage potential, the system can now hopefully maintain that synchronization for longer. And then the sphere should stay locked into the system for longer, which means we should have that feedback impulse back to the battery in that voltage climb for a longer period. I think the longest we've got it were like 2 or 3 minutes. So I don't know if it'll plateau. I don't know if it'll stop. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if it's not going to do anything. Maybe it's just going to do the same thing it did last time and nothing's going to change. That's why we're testing it tonight. But we're going to test it with the buck boost converter right after this short break. And I don't know how we're going to do the break on Streamlabs. Let me see how we're going to do this. Okay. All right, so don't forget to hit that like button. We'll be back in just a few minutes while I set up the lab for our new experiment right here on Beneficence TV.
Feel the pulse, divine sensation. Everyone needs just a little foundation. Feel the pulse, divine sensation. Everyone needs just a little salvation. convention ways. You will find our reflection. With everything there's a connection. Feel the positive sensation. Everyone feels the goodness of our invitation. There's a light within the dark waves, guided by echoes and ancient ways. You will find our reflection. With every beat there's a connection. Feel the pulse, divine sensation.
Where the fireflies glow, there's a man named Michael with a vision to show. Building towards a goal, he's got the spark, dreaming of a future that'll light up the dark. But on the other side, Bill Nye's on the rise with his lab coat charts, he's cut down all the lies. And it just fits, it's all in the map. You can't pull from the ether, you're just chasing a path. But oh, Michael's rising like a morning sun. With the power of ether, he won't be outdone. Now stand up and shout, let the truth be affirmed. Feel the energy flow, let's change the world. In the heart of a life, the tension was thick. Skeptics gathered round the table ready to pick. Chose your fruit, but let the taste clear. And I find the stream, you're just chasing a spin. But Michael's style live, with fire in his eyes. Watch as I spin, let the naysayers cry. Girl spinning fast and a heart full of fight. I'll show you the power that's hidden inside. Oh, Michael's rising like the morning sun. With the power of ether, he will be outdone. Well, stand up and shout, let the truth be affirmed. Feel the energy flow, let's change the world. Can't prove your theory, it's just not right. So go spin back,
In a world where innovation is stifled by greed and corruption, there lies a hidden truth that could revolutionize our way of life.
Lenny, what are you doing? Are you seriously pitching a new show right now? I didn't authorize this. My God, only 5 minutes into your new position as co-host, and you're already adding to my tight schedule.
Yes, sir, I manage that schedule. But I did notice you have an entire 2 days available during your week.
Wait, you're not talking about Saturday and Sunday, are you?
Of course, sir. You have 2 whole days where you're free to work on new content.
Lenny, those are my days off.
It's okay, sir. I know you'll manage just fine. I have faith in you.
Do robots have faith?
I do. I have faith that you won't screw it up again.
You know what? It's fine. Go ahead. I'll just build my cold fusion Lego set some other time.
It's PON certified.
But I'm not telling them about my idea for a thunderstorm toilet. I'm gonna keep that baby close to my chest.
You know, that just sounds wrong.
It's a good idea. A toilet capable of turning any toxic human waste into, well, it turns into petroleum jelly.
Why petroleum jelly, sir?
You know what? I'm not sure. I don't think it's calibrated correctly.
Enough is enough. The world is at a breaking point. Catastrophic climate change, biosphere collapse, and a global energy crisis have been met with apathy, denial, and despair. The phrase unidentified flying object is a deliberately obfuscating term. What it really is an alternative energy and propulsion device. This is the real reason for the secrecy. These technologies, if they were disclosed, would end fossil fuels, pollution, and poverty overnight, and usher in a new era of abundance, freedom, and peace. Instead, they have been kept secret for over 100 years.
The more powerful the agency, the more powerful the group, the more powerful the cartel, the more they will resort not only to legal means, but to extra legal means to suppress their competition.
I said pretty early on, the problem is suppression. It wasn't really how do I make a free energy machine. It's how do I not get suppressed? Because what's the point?
Microscopic ball lightnings that when they discharge are tapping into that 0-point energy field and creating the motive force.
Boom! That's why the concussion from the thunderclap is so huge. There's this huge amount of energy that's actually sourced from the vacuum energy. All the dots connected. This is what's happening, right? So we need to make the thunderclap engine.
Imagine a future where clean, sustainable energy is not just a dream, but a reality. Discover the countless untold stories of free energy devices and the relentless battle against those who seek to suppress them for their own gain.
Black shelving. So someone comes along, they offer you $20 million for your device, it's a corporation, they put it on a shelf. Boom.
This power is something I have given my life for you the people.
Uncover the shocking tactics used by energy industries to control the narrative and maintain their grip on power.
You don't interfere with the big, powerful people. You don't put them out of business. They still have those 50-year leases on the lines and all the power transformers.
The Environmental Protection Agency is a bit of a dictatorial police agency.
A shadowy government with its own Air Force, its own Navy, its own fundraising mechanism, and the ability to pursue his own ideas of the national interest, free from all checks and balances, and free from the law itself.
This is real, usable power. It's stable. It is not transient. It is not noise. Behind the lamps, that little box is putting out all of that power, well over 500 watts, and yet it is receiving less than 1/3 of a milliwatt of input power. The rest of that power is coming out of the surging energy of the vacuum, and this little box that you see right here, solid state, no moving parts, is the vacuum triode that's doing this very practical and historical work.
But indeed, it put out more energy than it took in. He was shot at once with a silenced rifle from about 300 yards. It reads like a James Bond movie, but it's real.
There are men here that said they're FBI, and they got black vans, and they're taking all this equipment. What should I do?
It's called capture, where they try to rationalize away this problem and everything's fine.
From manipulation of patent authorities to infiltration of government agencies, the truth is stranger than fiction. But amidst the darkness, a glimmer of hope emerges in the form of renegade scientists and inventors who refuse to be silenced.
There is absolutely no question that T. Henry Morey had a system that produced about 50 kilowatts out of a 55-pound box.
In the shadows of capitalism's dark secrets, join us on a thrilling new show. Get ready to be inspired, enraged, and empowered as we delve into the Benefactor's Guide to Free Energy Devices.
Only on Beneficence TV.
Why live in isolation? Why guard your self-control? Why embrace complication? Why bear a living soul? My eyes see no salvation. My eyes see your troubled soul. My eyes see your fleeting romance. My eyes see your bloody soul. I'll try to stop the voices, but now they come and go. I'll try to fix the problem, but now I've done a hole. I'll try to find my reason to no bitter end I'll fail. I'll try to find the reason. Cast away, alienated from the aids of that inventor in disguise. Ideas ahead of time, dismissed with narrow eyes. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world you can't deploy. Changing the system, but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his boy. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? Talking about 0 point, the points lost on them. Cabin structures crumbling from the same old stem. They laugh like I'm crazy, but I see it all so clear. Exploited labor, unheard injustice, burning ears. Fighting for a change in this wasteland of noise. But they call me foolish, wanting shed boys. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world you can't deploy. Changing the system, but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his boy. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? Chasing revolutions in the darkest nights. A dreamer with vision beneath the laughter and noise. A future so bright waiting for the right choice. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world he can't deploy. Changing the system, but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his boy. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? All right, give me a minute to set up the lab cam.
There we go. See, we have the buck boost converter here. Negatively conditioned battery on the third cycle. It is at 13.23 volts. Still hasn't stabilized. We charged it up to 14.5 volts. All right. So here's the mini board. We're going to put a frequency from the generator on the laptop into the board and spin the sphere up inside this container. And hopefully get this to actually increase. Whether it's the third digit or the second digit, we'll be paying attention to all of it. So I think it's about time we start. All right. Set this up. It's at 7. Tone. All right. Hopefully it works. Didn't boost the voltage yet. Maybe because we need to turn up the volume. Turn this on. Interesting. Oh, here we go. All right. Tune it up. We're at 74 hertz, and it is not climbing. We are losing power. Interesting. Oh, you hear it? Let's try to tune it up again. Let's see if we can increase this a little bit. $80 hertz. Oh, it's climbing. It's climbing. There you go. You can hear it's I think it's going to desynchronize. Yep. You hear it? It got a little slower. Interesting. And watch 12.57. We take it out. Oh, it's still spinning. It just stops. So it jumps down to a lower shelf. It's at 12.51 now. Let's go back down and tune it up, see if we can get it to go higher. $83 hertz. It is climbing. $12.7. Wow. It's climbing quite a bit. Come on, baby. Uh-oh. Yeah, see? It just desynced. No? It's going back up. That's weird. Interesting. I'm just going to let it play out and see what happens. Wow, it's still climbing. Should I increase the frequency slightly? I don't know. I don't think I should touch it. It's at 84 hertz, 83 hertz. Yeah, I went back down. It desynced. Let's try it one more time. That is not right. We want it to smoothly. There we go. Come on. 89. It's going back up. It's going back up fast. 72 already. 73. Come on, baby. 74. I hear it slowing down. Interesting. It goes up a little bit when it slows down and then it desyncs. I think it's going to desync in a second. $77. It's still going up. Oh. Well, it's going back up. Come on. We're at 89 hertz. It's higher than I could ever get it without this booster. I don't know why it's not boosting it to 18 volts. That's a problem. Oh, because I'm monitoring the wrong side. I'm monitoring the battery. That's right. So we're not going to see the 18 volts. We're just going to see the 12 volts in the battery potential. Okay, never mind. Sorry about that. I got confused for a second, and now we desynced and it's going back down. But you can notice it goes down a lot slower with the magnet in there. Oh, here it's, as long as it's spinning. I put it back down and it's going up. So I pushed it in the center a little bit. It went up a little bit. That's interesting. Let's try to do it one more time with that, a little bit more in the center. Let's stop it. Let's go 6. See if we can get it a little bit higher this time, maybe 90. $92. All right, let's push it down in there. Yep, it's going up. Oh, wow, it's already at 12.79. I have to hold it in there. Hold it in there a little bit. It's going up. Yep, that's all I had to do is hold it closer to the center, the equatorial plane. We were like probably a little bit outside of the null zone. We want that null zone because that gives us the monopole in its cleanest form, I guess, with the sphere, the synchronized. It's still going up. I just heard it catch. For the first time, I just heard it catch. So it could be going down now. No, I'm trying to push it more in there in the center. Still going up. I need to put some weight on this, and then I can focus. It's gonna desync. I need to get it closer to the center. Yeah, push it back down and it's going up again. It just needs to be more in the center, and I think we got it. I need to have something here to hold it down. Ah! I need something to hold it down. Let's see what I can use. Maybe this cylinder, if it's not too heavy. Oh, this might be too heavy. Maybe I can just push it. Oh, there we go. It just stayed down there. Okay. I think we got it. This glove. All right, we're going to start it again. Why isn't that working? Oh. Oh. Too much. All right, it's going up again. Let's see how long it lasts, because I stuck it down in there a little bit. Some of the zip ties might have been in the way. That might have been it. I hear it slowing down. I want to try to get it up to 13 volts. And we'll try it. Well, maybe we'll try it one more time without the buck boost converter as well. We'll try it one more time without the converter. It's still going up though. I don't know if anybody's timing any of this, but it could be important to time it. Otherwise, I'd have to go back and watch the stream and determine. Because I'm using my phone right now. And it's going down a little bit. I increased the frequency 1 hertz, 96 hertz. It'll jump back up a little bit. Let me take a temperature reading of the battery. Battery's still cool. It's about ambient 67, 69, 70. Terminals about the same. I mean, it's spinning pretty steady. It's still going up. Oh, jump down a little bit. It seems to be going up and down. Interesting. Wow. What the hell? That was weird. Increase the frequency 1 more, maybe. Or 2. 97 hertz. Damn. It's like jumping up and down. It's like it wants to pull the energy out, and immediately it supplements that pulled energy. See, it jumps down, and then it jumps right back up. That might be a sign of conditioned battery. We have a regular battery we can test too. It's still like, what the heck? Okay, now it's going down a little bit more. But if it goes down and up and down and up, and it just doesn't really go down too much and keeps on going, then this is what we need. If this just keeps on going like this, this is a long time for it to synchronize. I've never had it happen like this before, but I've never jammed it that far down. I thought it wouldn't fit. I guess it was just the zip ties in the way. Interesting. Oh, now it's going down a little bit more. Let me see if I can increase the frequency a little bit. Oh, it stops at 100. Okay. 95 hertz. It's going back up. We're going to try it again without the buck boost converter. But damn, that lasted a long time. Push it down a little farther. Yeah, we're gonna try this again with without the buck boost converter. But let's take this magnet out. We're taking the magnet out now. Notice how the voltage drops. It's still spinning, by the way. Still spinning. Outside here. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, violent. Look how it drops. All the way to 12.57 now, and dropping really fast without that sphere. Look, it just keeps going. It'll just keep going. Because it's drawing power, obviously. This magnet was fucking putting power back into the battery indefinitely. All right, so we're gonna turn that off. Take the buck boost converter off. Try it without it. All right. Right, let's put this back in the center. Turn on. 6. I don't know if we'll be able to get as high as we did before, but if we are, it's because the negatively conditioned battery. Before, 75 was our cutoff. Oh, yep, so 75 is our cutoff without the buck boost. Let's try it again. Yeah, see, without the buck boost converter, we're struggling getting a high frequency with the stereo amp. So let's try it one more time. I doubt we'll be able to get the same results. Oh, damn. $69. It is increasing. The voltage is going up. It's at 69 hertz. So the voltage is going up. It's actually going up higher than it did without the buck boost converter. Battery seems to be absorbing that energy better without the buck boost converter. So that's the catch-22 here, because we need that buck boost converter to get it to a higher frequency. Come on, baby, just keep on going. That's all we need here. Just keep on going. We don't mind. Just roll on up. $12.9. Interesting. I doubt we'll get to 13 volts, but who knows? Maybe it'll just keep on going. Sounds nice. Sounds nice and stable. But it doesn't sound fast enough. It's like it needs to go slightly faster. Maybe if we can let it charge up enough, maybe it keeps on going. We can let it charge up enough, and then we can increase the frequency a little bit without the buck boost. Who knows? Oh no, I heard something. Yeah, it might be starting to desynchronize. Because again, remember, we're not monitoring the current here, just the voltage potential. So if it's drawing more current than it's putting back in faster than it can put back in at least, then we can't really see that just monitoring the voltage, but we can kind of assume that's what's happening. The only way to overcome that is to get that voltage higher faster. And in my opinion, that's by increasing the frequency, increasing the spinning rate of the sphere, getting it to synchronize more closer to the subharmonic frequency, resonant frequency of the system. It's either the harmonic or subharmonic of the coil, or it could be a multiple of the frequency we're running at. So 69 hertz, and the sphere might have to run like at a frequency at a multiple of that. Who knows? There's a lot of different variables. What we do know is this is evidence of a self-sustaining system. I mean, it's at 12.9. You take the fucking magnet out, it goes down to 12.5. Come on. still at 12.9. It's like a maybe a shelf or plateau. Where's my tri-field meter? Damn it. Where's my tri-field meter when I need it? Damn it. We're still at 12.9. Oh, it started to go down a little bit. Well, I'm looking for my tri-field meter. There it is. Oh, shit. We're like 8 feet from the coil right now. We're still getting 3.5 milligauss. We're about 3-4 feet from the coil. A foot from the coil, and we can't even read it. We have to go back to at least 3 feet from the coil to read it. It's still at 12.9, by the way. Let's read the electric field. Right back here at like 2 feet, 18 volts per meter. 15 volts per meter. Well, actually, when I pointed at it, 27 volts per meter. Getting closer. Look at that. 90 volts per meter. 100 volts per meter in the center. Over. This is like 4 feet away. We're still getting some voltage here. Interesting. It started to go down a little bit, but not much. And notice, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but when it starts to go down, it's going down a lot slower than when that magnet is not spinning inside that coil. It goes down a lot faster. You don't hear that the fucking thing spinning, and this goes down to 12.5, and it just goes down and down and down. This is like fighting it. That's because you're adding more water into your bucket. You got more pressure going back into the dipole. Interesting. It's slightly going down though. Unfortunately, it's going down a little bit, but I mean, it's still fucking efficient as fuck. Like if you had a speaker arrangement right now somehow, you could fucking get this thing to run a lot longer than you normally would. Oh, it's going back up a little bit. But it's like fighting it. Is it the magnet or is it plasmoids? Who knows? I mean, these are really good results. In my opinion, this is a really good result. Even without the buck boost converter, we're getting this to like maintain. But I mean, again, it might also be because I shoved that glass down into the hole of the coil a little bit farther. But even when I didn't do that, it seemed like we were getting better results with the negatively conditioned battery attached to the buck boost converter. If it's going down barely. Like you can barely tell because it's fighting itself. It's like it's fighting it. It doesn't want to drain the battery. That's why it's vibrating itself back up. If I keep it down in the center more. Yeah, now it's going back up. It's just I can't fucking do this and hold the camera at the fucking same time. We just have to go by the honor system here. We are going back up slightly. We haven't gone back up to 12.9. But it does seem to have some kind of effect. Pushing it down a little bit. It's still going, man. It's still fucking going. Here we go. Come on, baby. $12.90. Keep shooting the glass back up. See? So let's take this out. Notice we take it out. Oh, wow, it's still spinning. Wow, look at it, it's still spinning. Okay, so it goes, immediately jumps back down. 12.7. And goes down real fast. Look how fast it's going down without this magnet spinning in there. Look at this. This is like incredible. An incredible difference. Look at it. It's going down. I think it's found its shelf. Okay, so it's found its shelf. This is 12.66 is its shelf. Not what it was at. It was 12.8 or whatever. And now it's going down from here. And it's going to go down slower. Again, this is the negative battery, so this might be going down slower with the because it's negatively charged. We can try it with the positively charged battery as well, but maybe not tonight because I'm starting to get a little tired and I want to relax with some video games. So this is going steadily down, but this is also a shelf. So you see this shelf. This stubbornness we're seeing right here might be because this is partially conditioned with the negative electricity. You know what? We could hook it. Let me hook this up real quick. All right. So we got the hot charged battery. Hook this up. All right. So this is going to go down a little bit more. This is a little bit sulfated. But you can see when it reaches its shelf, or if it does, it's going to go down, I think, a little bit faster. If it even reaches a shelf, it just keeps on going down. I think it's reached its shelf and it's going down from here. But you can see it's going down very steady. It's slow, but it's steady. Whereas the negatively charged battery, it seemed like that was kind of like the shelf it had, the plateau, where it just kind of stubbornly stayed there. Interesting. We'll let this discharge for a few more seconds and see. 7, 6. Interesting. So we're seeing kind of the same effect on this one too. I'm wondering if it's just the system is just natural discharge. It has nothing to do with the negative charge or the conditioning process. Let's keep an eye on it for just another minute. It does seem to be going down slightly faster, but still seems to be kind of like stuck at the shelf. So either this is just the natural discharge process we're seeing between the two batteries. It has nothing to do with this battery being negatively conditioned, or maybe there's some residual negative charge on this one, because I've tried to use this one on the Bedini SSG as well for a while, but recently I've charged it with hot energy, so I'm not sure. It's hard to tell. I'm going to continue to discharge this battery, though, because we're starting the third cycle, and it's showing a lot of promise. Actually, let's hook this. I wanted to hook the buck boost converter up to the lightning thief real quick as well to see the effects. So let's do that. Hopefully I don't burn something out. That's right. That was not being used. Nope, didn't turn on. Let's see. Try it real quick without the butt boost, just to confirm. Well, we're having a problem with the Lightning Thief device. I might call it quits and work on it tonight. I can't get it to work. I'm meaning to solder a new board together. That's why. That's the reason. There we go. Okay. One of the wires came undone. I didn't notice. That's without the buck boost converter. Let me hook up the multimeter real quick and see where we're at with that. All right, so it bounced back up to 13.12. After all the strain we put it through, it bounced all the way back up to where it was. Let's see where it jumps down to. System is on. It's going to stabilize somewhere. In the meantime, we're going to get that buck boost converter ready again just to test it out one more time. I have a feeling I didn't connect it right. It's going down a lot faster than it usually does because it's not stabilized yet. It hasn't hit its shelf. But we're not going to let it. We're going to hook up this buck boost converter real quick. Alright, so that goes input. All right, the moment of truth. Oh, wow. Yes, sir. It's a lot brighter. Obviously, it's going down a lot faster, but we'll see what the efficiency is with the buck boost converter on the Lightning Thief. Interesting. I knew it should have boosted a little bit. I could probably put on a different resistor on the base and increase it even further. All right, we're probably close to that shelf. I'm just going to monitor the consumption of the energy on this as well. Cool. We need to discharge this fast for this cycle, so maybe we'll just leave the buck boost converter on. All right, what an exciting episode. What an exciting episode indeed. All right, so we did witness with the buck boost converter the ability for the system to sustain synchronicity for longer, a lot longer, not indefinitely it seems, but it still increased the efficiency tenfold. And also, we're able to spin that sphere a little bit faster, bumping it up from like 70, 75 hertz, all the way up to 90. I think we got it to 97 hertz. So this allows the sphere to spin faster and synchronize more fully with the collapse of the field. And when it does that, it apparently increases the voltage, which is insane. So this test was a success. By all means, the buck boost converter did exactly what I wanted it to do. It increased the output of the stereo amp receiver enough for that neodymium sphere to continue synchronizing for a lot longer. And by pushing the glass container down a little bit more in the center of the tore of the coil, we were able to increase that even further than when it was just sitting on the top. So again, you want to adjust the sphere and the containment unit for the size of your coil, and we're going to do that. We're going to order some more spheres, specifically, smaller ones, and see what happens. I know we're going to be able to get it to levitate. We have enough power in the system where if we get a smaller sphere, we'll get that baby to float in the center of the coil, which will be cool to demonstrate, because that basically is magnetic levitation right there. So, which is really cool because it's one of the most contained maglev effects that you'll ever see. Normally, magnetic levitation is very hard to accomplish. You either need like supercooling magnet or very precise tolerances for that to occur, whereas this just does it effortlessly, where it's pretty cool. These coils are really interesting and fun to work with, but I'm starting to get a little tired. Might end the night with some video games just to chill out. I really appreciate everybody for tuning in. I'm sorry I didn't get to your comments. I'm not set up on Streamlabs tonight. I'm set up on StreamYards, and my production ability is limited on StreamYards, so I'll have to review those comments after the stream. But I appreciate everybody for tuning in, and all the love and support really means everything to me. So with that being said, we're going to end the stream, and have a good night, everybody.
Mind. Stable theories, they all refuse to find. I've been working on energy for a brand new day, but even in the crowd, I'm still a castaway. Alienated from the aids of added nature in disguise. Ideas ahead of time, dismissed with narrow eyes. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world you can't deploy. Changing the system, but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his boy. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? Talking about 0 point, the points lost on them. Kevin structures crumbling from the same old stem. They laugh like I'm crazy, but I see it all so clear. Exploited labor under injustice burning ears. Fighting for a change in this wasteland of noise, but they call me foolish, whining shed boys. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world you can't deploy. Changing the system, but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his boy. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? The fights, chasing revolutions in the darkest nights. A dreamer with vision beneath the laughter and noise. A future so bright, waiting for the right choice. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world he can't deploy. Changing the system, but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his boy.